I had a miscarriage before my daughter, so in between, and that was really hard for me because, like I said, I hadn't dealt with the postpartum, and then all this stuff on top of it, and then I had a miscarriage, and then I got pregnant with my daughter, and everything was fine. Same thing, I had postpartum after, didn't realize it. I just started gaining weight, and I just started feeling angry all the time, and sort of everything was just overwhelming and angry all the time. And then, like I said, and then I got pregnant with my son, and it just kept
everything just
snowballing.
piling.
Yeah, it just kept piling on, and it just became way too much. And my first trimester with my third, I cried every single day. My mom had to come over and help me every day. I just laid on the couch, and I was in a full depression, and I didn't know. And everybody around me, I think, kind of saw it, but they were too afraid to say anything to me because I was so angry and so ready to snap on everybody that everybody felt like they were walking on eggshells around me, which is unfortunate, but I mean, I understand it. So, it was a really difficult time. And like I said, as much as I absolutely love my kids and I love being an at-home mom, for the most part, it's difficult. Giving up your independence and dealing with all that on top of it.
Welcome to Beyond the Scale, the show where everyday heroes share their stories on how they turn their lives around for the healthier. I'm Coach Brittany, and today's guest is Alicia Peterson. She talks about how staying active was the best remedy for her postpartum depression. Hope you enjoy. Welcome, Alicia.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks for coming out today.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too. So you're a current client at Fit Body Bootcamp, right?
I am.
What location do you go to?
Foothill Ranch.
Okay, and how long have you been a member?
Since about January, actually.
Awesome, and how do you like it?
I love it. I'm totally obsessed. Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely not easy, but I'm totally and completely obsessed. So.
Okay, cool. How often do you work out there?
I started with 2 days a week, mainly because my kids were in school and it was just easier and just trying to get there and commit myself. But now I'm there about 5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay, and now how many kids do you have?
3.
3 kids, wow. And do you find that it's easy to work it into your schedule now?
It is because the 8:45 class is the only one with childcare, and it actually works out perfect for me because I can drop the kids off at school and make it there by 8:45. I have my 2-year-old who's still with me who goes to the childcare, but the 8-year-old and the 4-year-old go to school. So in the summertime is when I actually took advantage of going more because I didn't have to take them to school, and the 5 days a week it's been a lot better for me.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And now, has fitness always been a part of your life, or when did that start?
So growing up, it was always a rule in my house that I had to be involved in some sort of sport.
Okay.
And I was always a swimmer. I always did lifeguards, and I did water polo and all of that. But I think toward middle school and high school, when I became too cool, I sort of stopped. And I think that played a big part in my life of not feeling good about myself. I think being active is really important. But I mean, I've never been lazy. I've always sort of been active, whether my kids or just in life. But yeah, I mean, working out has been more new rather than it hasn't been that long.
Okay.
Sorry,
no,
sorry.
You're good.
I'm so nervous.
So what was life like for you when you didn't have fitness involved?
I mean, I've been sort of like on a journey. I think everybody has their own journey, but when my mom and dad got divorced, that was hard for me. And then.
And how old were you? Like roughly around that time?
I was 10.
Okay.
When they got divorced, and then from then I think I had the normal insecurities, I think that every girl especially, but any kid has, but it sort of manifested into almost like a depression, which I didn't know that's what I was in, especially being young and everything. And I think as great as my mom was and is, and she was the best and everything, I think just not having my dad around sort of played into the insecurity part and the self-esteem or lack of self-esteem. And like I said, and then being able to, quit sports and quit my activities and everything, I think because my mom sort of tried to overcompensate for my dad not being there, and she sort of just let me do whatever I wanted and sort of get away with whatever I wanted. And I don't blame her, but at the same time, I think being involved in a sport or activity or being active would have helped me in that situation. And instead, I found other avenues of self-acceptance or wanting to be accepted, I guess, through whether it was relationships and, boys or drinking or drugs or whatever it was at that time in my life. It just was something, my coping mechanism, rather than, like I said, staying active and being involved in a sport and everything. Whereas like my brother, he stayed involved in sports and he always was on a better path. And I mean, we all take our own paths and everything happens for a reason. And I didn't, fall down a huge steep or whatever, but I did have my own issues. And so I just think that, being active is so important from a young age. It's not just about getting in shape or being pretty or being skinny when you're older. It's about a mental health that is huge for me, at least, and I think for a lot of people that I don't think people realize it needs to start from a young age.
Yeah,
it's not something that, when you feel 30 or when you're 30 and you have kids or whatever, that you need to go start working out. It needs to be something at a young age. So that's a rule for my kids. They have to be involved in a sport. I don't care what it is. Pick whatever you want, but you have to be involved in something and stay active and be accountable.
Yeah.
So.
I love that because, my parents actually divorced when I was really young also.
Yeah.
And so I played sports, and just having that team aspect, just makes you feel supported and like you're not alone, even though, like you said, your parents still try to do the best for you. But at the end of the day, it still does play a toll on you to a certain extent.
It does. And whether you realize it or not in the moment, I didn't know in the moment that I was feeling those ways. I'm just dealing with it now, really.
Right.
But yeah, the activity and being involved in a team sport, being accountable, having something in common with somebody else, and being able to relate and count on people, it's huge. It's really important.
Definitely. So after all the sports stopped and everything, what type of path did you find yourself going down, and what kind of problems were you seeing rise?
I think it all just really stemmed from being insecure, like I said, from, multiple aspects in life. But I think I just was looking for that validation that I probably needed from my dad, or whatever I needed it from. But I was in a relationship that was abusive, both mentally and physically. And I was, as much as I knew what was going on was wrong, and as much as I wanted to get out, I was too insecure. I didn't want to be alone. Like I mentioned, I say drugs. I wasn't into anything like heavy, but I mean, the normal, smoking pot and drinking and stuff. But it all started at too young of an age, and I was just always trying to find happiness somewhere else because I wasn't finding it in myself. And I don't know, I think that relationship that I was in for 3 years that was abusive it took a big toll on my life. And I don't know, I just...
How did you find yourself a way to get out of that relationship?
It was a slow process. The first 2 years, I kept telling myself that I love him and it's okay, he loves me too. He just, I was making excuses. And then I think the last year I was really getting fed up with it, but I still wasn't strong enough to leave. And it was nothing really that significant. I sort of just all of a sudden woke up one day and had the courage to say, I'm done. And I was able to get away. And of course, he still tried to contact me and everything. But I found... I don't know. I found my strength in just sort of being over it. I think I just fed up, just done.
Can't do it anymore.
Yeah, and it was funny. I actually started talking to my husband. My husband now, but who was my boyfriend, or whatever. I was talking to Christopher, who is my husband now.
Okay.
And I was talking to him on MySpace. And
MySpace,
I know,
yeah.
well, that was the
Top
big,
8.
yes, that was the big thing because my boyfriend at the time, who's controlling and abusive, wouldn't let me have a MySpace. Every time I tried, he would go and delete it. So when I got away from him, that was my big thing. I'm like, I'm getting a MySpace now. And I got on, and my husband now, who I knew in high school, came up as somebody you might know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember him. And I clicked on him, and we started talking back and forth. And when we started hanging out, I was like, this is what a man is supposed to be, you know, his values and his morals and the way he treated me and everything. But at the same time, I was very reserved and closed off, and had my wallet because of everything that I'd been through. So thank God he had the perseverance to keep going because, and he knew he needed to push through those walls and those boundaries. And I think that's a huge part of why I am where I am now, because I know what love is, and you know, and what a father is supposed to be. I mean, he's the most amazing father, and so that's really helped me as well.
I love that. He knew it was meant to be, so he knew what you needed, kept fighting through.
Yeah. He knew how to push through those walls and also back off when I needed it, and you know, knew that I wanted to be independent.
Yeah.
And he supported that. And
that's awesome to have that support.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
so
it was
how
awesome.
does your past pain help you relate to others better?
I mean, like I said, I've been through traumas, if you will, in life that I think a lot of people go through, whether it's, you know, your parents getting divorced or physical or mental abuse. And so I can have empathy in those situations with those people, and but also relate that when they are just in the middle of it and they don't know where to go or what to do or how to deal with it, I know I can physically feel that that pain that they're going through. And just, I mean, being encouraging, but also with solutions, whether it is, I think, like I said, being active is huge. Finding your happy place. And my biggest thing I tell moms, women, and just anybody, that self-care is not selfish. Like, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Exactly.
You have to fill your cup, whether it's for your children, for your husband, for yourself, for anything. You have to fill your cup. And mine is working out and being active and doing things like that is what fills my cup. And for somebody else, it might be something different, but for me, that's mine. And so everybody needs to find what makes them happy, and like I said, fill their cup so they can be helpful to anybody else. So,
I mean, going through the way you grew up with the family life and all of that, did you ever have any fears about starting your own family?
Absolutely. I never wanted to get married or have kids. Yeah. I just didn't see that for myself. I just wanted to be independent. I wanted to have a career, and I wanted to be rich and live that lifestyle. It wasn't until I met my husband when I started to feel like, okay, I mean, maybe I can consider something like this. And I knew marriage and kids were always something that he wanted. That was a non-negotiable for him. So, like I said, once I realized that not every man is going to leave, or not every man's going to be abusive, I started coming around to the idea a little bit more. And then I think a year into our relationship, I'm like, okay, like I can be married and maybe have one kid. I can maybe do one kid. And
3 kids later.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, honestly, I love my children with all my heart. I don't think I was meant to be an at-home mom, and that's what I am.
Okay.
I mean, I'm blessed, and I'm happy that I get to be with them and experience them growing up, and I don't have to send them to a daycare. But it's a daily struggle for me. It really is. It's really hard for me. I went through postpartum with all 3 of them, and I didn't know until just maybe this last year, which is crazy. So I went through postpartum, and I just thought this is just what life is. I didn't, you have a kid, and you feel overwhelmed, and everything feels chaotic, and that's just what life is. That's what being a mom is. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy when I realized that I was experiencing postpartum. And every symptom that the therapist would name and say, I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, oh, wow, I had postpartum with all of them, and I never dealt with it, and just sort of kept accumulating over each pregnancy, and then breastfeeding and all the hormones and everything that you go through, and the postpartum on top of it. It was really difficult.
So what was postpartum like for you right after you had your first kid?
Like I said, I didn't realize it was postpartum. I just thought it was just chaotic and just part of life. But it just felt, and I'm a very controlling person, so for me it was even more, it was harder because I felt like I couldn't grasp anything. I felt like, and everything, and being a new mom is hard anyway, but everything that was happening, I felt like I had no control over. And then when my son was 2, took him to his well checkup, and they asked me, how he was talking and stuff. I said, oh, he's not. So then he had a speech delay, and so that on top of it, just set me back even further, because I have very high expectations for myself and for everybody around me, and most of the time they're let down, unfortunately. And so I think with that, having my first child and then him having a problem that I wasn't prepared to deal with made it worse. And I mean, all he had to do was just go to speech therapy. It wasn't that big of a deal, but for me it was. And then I had a miscarriage before my daughter, so in between, and that was really hard for me, because like I said, I hadn't dealt with the postpartum, and then all this stuff on top of it, and then I had a miscarriage, and then I got pregnant with my daughter, and everything was fine. Same thing, I had postpartum after, didn't realize it. I just started gaining weight, and I just started feeling angry all the time, and sort of everything was just overwhelming and angry all the time. And then, like I said, and then I got pregnant with my son, and it just kept
everything just
snowballing.
kept piling.
Kept piling on, and it just became way too much. And my first trimester with my third, I cried every single day. My mom had to come over and help me every day. I just laid on the couch, and I was in a full depression, and I didn't know. And everybody around me, I think, kind of saw it, but they were too afraid to say anything to me because I was so angry and so ready to snap on everybody that everybody felt like they were walking on eggshells around me, which is unfortunate, but I mean, I understand it. So, it was a really difficult time. And like I said, as much as I absolutely love my kids and I love being an at-home mom, for the most part, it's difficult. Giving up your independence and dealing with all that on top of it.
So did you feel like you lost your identity when you had all your kids?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially coming out of that that ex-relationship, where that's all I was determined to do, was be independent. I was not going to answer to anybody. I was never going to be controlled again. I was going to, go back to my high-paying job and all of this, and just be happy and be what I wanted to be. And I was with my husband now, but we were dating for a year, and I got pregnant before we were married. And that all kind of felt like now everything's being taken away from me again. And so that was hard. I definitely lost myself in that a little bit, and then I started to regain it. And then now with 3 kids, like last year, I fell back into a depression because I felt like I have 3 kids, I'm not working, and I felt like I didn't have an identity. And that's when I decided that I have to find something that makes me happy again, and that was activity. And I knew that was always activity because of my past. I just let it go for so long. So I just started becoming active again. And it helped, just going to the gym for an hour, getting away from the kids and just having my own time, again, filling my own cup. And it made me happy. And then I started seeing results, so that was also beneficial. And then it kind of became addictive, where I'm like, I have to go to the gym today. If I don't go to the gym, I'm gonna lose my mind. And so and I don't think anybody should be addicted to anything, but it's a good addiction, I guess, to have one if you're gonna have one. But then with the boot camp is when everything really took a turn for the better, because like I said, going to the gym was helpful and having those endorphins. But I did hit a plateau, and where I wasn't losing any more weight, and I needed to find something different. And I also needed to be in a group of people.
Yeah.
That was also what I was missing from my life. I don't have any friends. I didn't have anybody else other than, my mom, my husband, and my kids. So joining boot camp and being accountable and having the fun workouts and having that family-like bond has made the biggest difference in the world to me. I mean, everybody from my grandparents to my mom, my dad, everybody in my life comments how much I've changed in the last year. And I know I'm doing the work, but I really do give the credit to boot camp because, like I said, they hold you accountable, and it is a family, and we really do love each other, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
So you mentioned you were doing workouts before you started boot camp. Is that just at the gym by yourself?
Yeah,
okay.
I was just going to the gym, working out. I'd go on Pinterest or an app or whatever and find workouts to do. And like I said, it was still good for me.
Right.
It just wasn't. Like I said, after a little while, it wasn't doing what it was doing in the beginning. I sort of hit that plateau, and I felt myself sort of declining and back to almost like a depression feeling again, where I felt like, if I don't change something or do something again, I'm going to stop going to the gym and I'm going to fall back into, how I felt, a year and a half ago. So.
Yeah. So would you say you're currently fully out of postpartum and depression?
I'm definitely out of the postpartum. We're done having children, and done breastfeeding and all of that, and getting my hormones back in check is huge. I know that had a huge part to play in it. But then, like I said, the working out and the endorphins and getting back to feeling like I'm a normal person again. Yeah, I can be a mom, and I can, be there and be the team mom for all the sports and everything that I want to do, but I can also be a 30-year-old woman and have friends and go out and have fun. And, my husband and I have made a conscious effort to find babysitters, and we have 3 on hand at all time now, so we can go out and do things and feel like normal human beings.
Yeah, it's important.
Like I said, it took a while to get to that point, to get that confidence, and to also not feel guilty for wanting to have that self-care, because I think most women and most moms definitely have that guilt. If I'm taking care of myself, if I'm leaving my kids to go to the gym or leaving my kids to go out with friends, I'm a bad mom. I should be at home and I should be there. And it's taken me a very long time to get over that sort of guilt that I've put on myself.
Yeah.
And that society puts on us as well.
Society totally does that. We got to break that habit.
Yeah. And so I'm determined to do that. And I still feel that way every once in a while, of course, but I'm pushing through it. I have to get myself out of my comfort zone and push through those difficult times to get to where I want to be.
Yeah, you just got to keep reminding yourself, that your kids look up to you, and if you're not happy, they're going to feel that. They're going to
And they
see
absolutely
that.
did. When I was in that depression and angry, I felt my kids resenting me and going more toward my husband. And I'm thankful that I have such a strong husband, and he's the best father, hands down. And so I'm thankful that we sort of complement each other that way, because I am the strict one. I am the rule maker. My husband's the fun dad.
Someone's got to do that
I
part.
know, right? And so
it.
I'm thankful for it. But I definitely didn't want my kids to feel that. And also, I didn't want my daughter to see somebody, I didn't want her being raised by a woman who wasn't confident in herself. And, I want my daughter to see that you can be a strong and independent woman, but also have the family life too, and it doesn't have to be one or the other, because in my mind as a child I thought it was one or the other. Right. You're a mom or you're an independent, successful woman, and it doesn't have to be one or the other.
Not
you
at
can
all.
have both.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I love hearing your story, how boot camp really helped boost your confidence, got you away from that plateau that you were having.
Yeah.
How did you find Fit Body Boot Camp?
It was actually on Groupon.
Okay.
I found it on Groupon, and I thought, whatever, it's $20. I'm going to try it. And I went the first day, and it kicked my butt. I'm like, I don't know if I can keep up with this. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try it this 1 month. I'm just going to push myself again. I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. And I was really in that place of getting out of my comfort zone and pushing myself. And I'm so glad I did, because within the first week, I already had made a friend. I could tell Allie was going to be like a total mentor to me, and I just fell in love with her from the get-go. And it's ever since, I've just totally become obsessed. In the last year and a half, since I started just working out, I've lost, before I went to boot camp, I had lost about 40 pounds.
Okay.
And then so since I've started boot camp in January, I've lost another 20, 25 pounds. So altogether in the last year and a half, I've lost about 60 pounds.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That is a
thank
huge
you.
accomplishment.
Yeah, it's awesome. It feels good. Yeah. Physically and mentally.
Yeah,
it all
I
feels
bet.
good. Yeah.
So, sorry. So, I mean, being a mom, I know, like you mentioned, it gets stressful.
Yeah.
Things happen. How does fitness help elevate your mood?
I mean, I think just the science part of it, the releasing the endorphins and oxytocin that just naturally happens with working out is the biggest thing. But like I said, the process of it too. You know, waking up in the morning, putting on my gym clothes is the first thing I do. I go downstairs and I make the kids breakfast, and the kids just know we're going to the gym today, and that's just part of our routine. We get there, the kids absolutely love being in the childcare, and the kids that they've even made friends with there, and then just that feeling afterwards. Like I said, the science part of it, the oxytocin, but just that feeling of that I accomplished something, and it just sets my tone for the rest of the day. I eat healthier, I eat better when I've worked out in the beginning of my day, and the days that I don't go, my husband can tell at the end of the day, he goes, "You didn't work out today, did you?" Yeah, no, I didn't. So it definitely sets my mood and my tone for the day, and I think it's important. So.
And now, on a day-to-day basis, aside from getting your workouts in,
Yeah.
is there anything else that you do to, help make sure that you don't fall back into depression?
I think just keeping myself aware that I have that in me. I have that, the traumas of my past that can always peak up randomly, and I have no idea when or why they're triggered, but sometimes they will be. Asking for help is a huge thing. I have always been sort of prideful in that way, and I didn't want to ask for help, especially with my husband. I wanted to be the mom who does it all. I want the house to be clean. I want the food, dinner to be ready. I want to be the team mom for every one of my kids' sports and everything. And realizing that I can't be everything to everybody has been a big realization for me, and it's hard to accept it, but I am accepting it. And then eating healthy and eating right has been a huge part of our life, especially for my kids. My mom calls me a granola mom because I do. I think just as much as working out is important, I think what you put in and on your body is just as important. Your gut and your brain are all connected, so what you put in your body affects how you feel that day, affects how you act that day, and your emotions, and your ability to cope in life is a huge part in diet. So I've been very conscious about what I put in my body and my kids' bodies, and it's been fun. I love to cook and bake anyway, so finding all of these new fun recipes that are vegan or paleo or we've cut out all gluten and dairy and refined sugar in all of our diets, so finding new recipes and stuff, and that's my favorite thing. I love to bake on Friday and bring them in on Saturday morning for boot camp class, and everybody looks forward to it. Yeah,
fun.
Everybody's like, "Where's our snacks?" If I don't bring something, I'm like, so it's been fun just finding different recipes and stuff to share with everybody. I really enjoy it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you talked about cutting out dairy and sugar.
Yeah.
What effects have you seen that play a role in your life?
It's been huge, especially for the kids. With my son, Jackson, the oldest, I realized that diet was a huge part in our lives and the way we think and function, because when he wasn't speaking, we did speech therapy, but I also changed his diet completely, and within 3 months, he was talking.
Wow.
And like I said, I know speech therapy was a part in that, but I really, truly believe the diet and the supplements and everything that we were giving him had a huge part to play in it. My daughter, she is sassy is a nice way of putting it. She's got a personality. But she would just have complete meltdowns and just freak out, and there was no rationalizing with her, and we couldn't figure out what was going on, and I'm like, I always thought we ate relatively healthy to begin with, but I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to try it. There's no harm. I'm going to try this diet that everybody talks about, taking out the refined sugars and all the processed foods and really just sticking to a clean, pure diet. And we eat meat and we eat everything else, but just clean. And within a week, I mean, my husband, I didn't even tell my husband I was doing this, and he's like, Olivia has been really good lately. I'm like, I know, right? And so it's really helped in emotional balance. I think that's the biggest thing, is emotional balance in all the kids, and just processing their feelings and their emotions in a better way. Of course, they're kids and they're still going to have meltdowns and freakouts, but they're much less, and there's much more ability to be able to talk to them and rationalize with them and get through to them when their brains are working correctly. So.
Yeah, because I mean, all those bad food and the sugars, the dairy, all that, it messes with your hormones, which your emotions, your health, literally everything.
Yeah, and it's addictive. I mean, sugar is way more addictive than any drug. And I mean, I knew my body getting off of sugar was hard, so I just knew what the kids were going through. And so it's been really beneficial. And even their skin, like Olivia used to have eczema, and that's gone. She would always be constipated, and her tummy would always be bloated. That's gone. So it's been pretty amazing watching the transformation with the kids just with the diet. So
see, you decided to make a change, and it just trickles into your whole family.
Absolutely, yeah.
So what does living beyond the scale mean to you?
It's funny. There's a couple at boot camp, and they say it's not a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle, not a fad. Sorry, it's a lifestyle, not a fad. And I think that's the best way to put it. It really is. It's not about just losing the weight. It's not about just feeling good and looking good physically. It is, especially for me, a mental thing and an emotional thing. And when you work out, when you eat right, when you make friends that are doing like-minded things, and that you can, I don't know what the word is, but that you have something in common with them. You relate. There you go. Yeah, you can relate with them. It makes the biggest difference in the world, because not only does it keep you accountable to keep going, but it feeds everything that you need. It feeds your friendships, it feeds your relationships, it feeds your brain, and it feeds everything that you need, like I said, to fill that cup back up that you need for every relationship in your life. So it really is a lifestyle for me now, and this is just part of our life. You know, the kids, when I first started this, are you going to the gym today, or do we have to eat this? It was always a question. Now it's just mom goes to the gym and we eat this, and it is just part of our life now.
That lifestyle,
yeah,
exactly.
It's a lifestyle, not a fad. So it really is just something that I'm trying to live by, and yeah, it's been working. So.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have so much inspiration with your story and the fact that you decided to make those changes, and I love that you're a great role model to your kids. I know that they're going to grow up and, you know, have healthy lifestyles and the right type of relationships because of you. So
I hope so. That's my hope in life. So, yeah.
So if there's anyone out there listening that wants to join you in boot camp, where can they go?
I work out at Fit Body Boot Camp Foothill Ranch with trainer Allie, and it's the best. We are a total family there, and we absolutely love you, and anybody who comes will feel like part of our family. So come join us.
And if you guys may not be in the Foothill Ranch area, make sure you check out fitbodybootcamp.com to find a location near you and claim your 3 free workouts. Until next time. Did you know that you could have done a full workout in the amount of time it took you to listen to this podcast? Go to fitbodybootcamp.com to claim your 3 free sessions now. And remember to join me next Tuesday so you can see who our special guest is. Until then, remember to live a fit body, fit mind forever.